Welcome to this week's Virtual Drasha. This week we have the incredible privilege to read Parshas Tzav. And this Parsha, continuing in the tradition of Sefer Vayikra, really delves into the intricate details of Karbanos of sacrificial law. I want to share with you an incredible insight. The Torah says as follows. This is in Parek Zayin Pasuk Yotes, chapter 7, verse 19. V'habasar asher yiga b'chol tamei, lo ye'achel ba'eshi saref. V'habasar kaltar yochal basar. Okay, let's focus on the first part of the verse. A seemingly simple verse. Basar referring to over here, sacrificial meat. Let's say you have, remember again, a person offers up a carbon, a person offers up a particular sacrifice. Different sacrifices are dealt with in different ways. There are certain karbanos, for example, like an olah, which is totally consumed on the mizbeach. And then there are other karbanos like a shlamim. And the shlamim, again, part of it is burnt on the mizbeach, part of it is given to the owner, and part of it is given to the kohanim. So imagine for a moment, you offered up a shlamim, and you have some sacrificial meat. Well, you can't eat that meat the same way you would eat any ordinary meat, but rather the meat is itself has certain statutes or limitations which ultimately govern its consumption. So certain karbanos have to be consumed in a certain geographic location. Certainly one has to be in a state of ritual purity in order to be able to partake of karbanos. But here the Torah is telling something else. What happens if the sacrificial meat comes in contact with something that is tamei, with something that is ritually impure? That's the case of the Torah. V'abasar asher yigal b'chol tamei. If you have a piece of sacrificial meat which comes in contact with something that is ritually impure, lo ye'achel. The sacrificial meat can no longer be consumed. But what do you do with sacrificial meat which can no longer be consumed? You can't throw it out in the garbage because it still has its own sanctity. Ba'eshi saref. You burn it in the fire. Okay. I know by now you're thinking, wow, incredibly riveting, uplifting, inspirational, fantastic. It's a detail. It's a sacrificial detail. And to be honest, when you hear about it, it's like very nice. But listen to this. The great tzaddik, Menachem Mendel of Kotsk, the Heilige Kotsk, says something amazing. He says as follows. He says, I'm going to quote to you. He says, Kishetami nogeh betar, betame satar. We know when something that is tameh touches something that is tar, something that is impure, touches something that is pure. So ultimately, again, as we just saw in the pasuk, so ultimately the pure item becomes impure. So something that is tameh, ritually impure, touches something that is tahar, ritually pure. The tahar item becomes tameh. Straightforward. The Kotzker says the following. Listen to this. V'lama kishatar nogeh betameh eino metar es hatameh. So the Kotzker says, I don't understand. Why doesn't this concept work in both directions? If something that is tameh, when it touches something that is tahar, makes the tahar, ritually pure item, tameh, ritually impure, then why don't we say that when something tahar touches something tameh, that the tameh item becomes tahar? You hear this? Again, let's say it once more. If we accept the premise that something ritually impure, when it touches something that is pure, makes the pure item impure, then the reverse should be true as well. When something ritually pure touches something ritually impure, the impure item should become pure. Why? If the tameh makes the tahar tameh, then the tahar should make the tameh tahar. It's a great question. Great question. And the Kotzker says something incredibly beautiful. Listen to what he writes. He says, Mishum shatame hu vadai tameh, avalatar mi aravlano shotar. So he says something amazing. The Kotzker says, because impurity is a state which could be readily identified. But tara, purity, who could know with absolute certainty that anything in this world is tahar? Such a profound statement, right? I know it's tameh, I know it's tameh. So tameh item touches something that's tahar, I know definitively that an item of tumah touched an item of tara, and therefore the item of tara is impacted. But a tahar item touches a tameh item. Says the Kotzker, how do you know in this world what's really tahar? A very Kotzker, like, how do you know what's really tahar? There are so many things in this world that look tahar, but they're not. And the Kotzker is teaching us such an incredibly profound idea. That sometimes one of the greatest challenges in life is knowing what is tameh and what is tahar. And interestingly, what the Kotzker is really highlighting over here is that often it's easy to discern that which is tameh. It's much more difficult to discern that which is tahar. What is pure and what is good And what are the things that should be enjoying in life? And what are the things that should be inviting into my home? And what are the experiences and influences which will have a positive impact on me? What are the things that are really tahar? In other words, if you ask most people, do I know what's tameh? Yeah, I know. I really, deep down, I really know what's tameh. The challenge is, what's tahar? Where could I find tara? Where could I find spiritual beauty? Where could I find spiritual purity in life? What is tahar? And sometimes the Kotzker says the things you think are tahar, or the things society may say are tahar, they're not. They're not. So something tameh can make something tar. So something tameh, which touches something tar, makes the item tameh. Why? Because we know what tameh is. But something tahar touches something tameh, can't change the state. Why? Because who knows in this world what is really tahar? It's so elusive. Kotzker sensitizing us to really making sure that we look at life closely, and that we live life with both hands on the wheel, and that we live with a constant sense of attentiveness to, are we really absorbing and enmeshing ourselves in tara, in that which is pure in life? Or sometimes do the things that we attach ourselves to, they look tahar, but at the end of the day, they're not really good. But I think we could add one more piece to this Kotzker, because the Kotzker's kasha, right, the Kotzker's question is a good one. If tameh touches tar, makes it tameh, then why don't we say that tar touches tameh, makes it tar? And perhaps also another answer to this idea is, tara cannot just be affected through contact. Tara, purity, requires effort, requires work. You see, tumah, here's the incredible part. Think about this in a sense of life, right? A person could be tameh, a person can become tameh through absolute passivity, right? If you think about this even like on a halachic level, right? If I go ahead and I'm minding my own business and someone takes a sheretz, right, a dead rodent, puts it in my hand. I know that's not a little bit of a graphic example. Or, God forbid, I'm somewhere and I'm under the same roof with someone and the person right next to me passes away. So I'm under the same roof with a corpse. Tumas ohel. You could become tameh passively. Tumah is a state of being which could be visited upon you. And that's why again, right? And that's why again, if you take a piece of tameh meat, or you take a tameh item, and you just put it next to the sacrificially pure, right? The tahar item becomes tameh through simple contact, because tumah, negativity, could be visited upon a person even passively. You don't have to do anything, it could just happen to you. But tara's different. Tara, purity in life, requires activity. Even if you think about it for just a moment, you could contract tumah, ritual impurity, passively, doing nothing. Tara, what do you need for tara? So almost every single form of tara, requires a mikvah. What does a mikvah require? A body of water. You have to go into the water. You have to go ahead and bend down in the water. You have to submerge yourself in the water. Tara requires activity. Tara requires dynamic action. Tumah could occur passively. You do nothing at all in life and you could become tameh. But tara requires dynamic action. I think that's another reason. This is why also the halacha is, the Kotzker's question, right? This is why something that's tameh touches something that's tar, it makes the tar item tameh. Why? Because tumah could be contracted passively, both in the laws, in the ritual laws of karbanos and in life. Sometimes you do nothing. You just allow yourself to be in the wrong places, with the wrong exposures, with the wrong people, and suddenly, I'm tameh. But tara, simply going ahead and taking something tar and putting it next to something tameh, does not make the tameh item tar. Why? Because purity, holiness, spiritual elevation requires activity. There's no tara through passivity. There's no tara through being a spectator. Tara requires decisive, dynamic life activity. Do something. Go to the mikvah, so to speak. Right? Be mitahar yourself. Dynamic activity creates tara. And you can even see this, right? Think about this for just a moment. This Shabbos, in addition to having the great schos of reading Parshas Tzav, it's also Shabbos HaGadol. And why is it called Shabbos HaGadol? Because thousands of years ago, the Jews went ahead and took the Paschal Lamb on this Shabbos HaGadol. They took the Paschal Lamb, they tied it right, they brought it in their house. And remember, this was a big thing because the lamb was the deity of Egypt. So essentially the Jews were asserting theological superiority over the Egyptians by taking the very God of Egypt and using it now in the service of their God. Incredible, overwhelming. But why is it Shabbos HaGadol? And the Sfarim bring down Shabbos HaGadol. It's not the great Shabbos. It's the Shabbos of the great people. Because it was on this Shabbos thousands of years ago we became great. Why did we become great? Because we stopped just being simple spectators and we actually engaged in dynamic activity. You see, up until this point in time, everything about the Exodus narrative, everything about Yetzias Mitzrayim, everything about the story of Egypt was all passive. Moshe Rabbeinu was doing his thing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was bringing the makos. And what were we doing? We were sitting on the side eating popcorn, right? We were sitting on the side watching. Oh, that's cool. That's incredible. Look at that plague. Look at this. Look at the hell. We're spectators. We're doing nothing. That Shabbos HaGadol, the Shabbos when we became great. What makes greatness? The recipe for greatness is the same recipe for Tara. Dynamic life activity. Stop being a spectator and start doing something to advance your life agenda. Stop looking and start doing. Stop being passive and start being active. That's Shabbos HaGadol, the Shabbos of the Great One. Who's the Great One? It's me and you. It's our ancestors when they decided to engage in dynamic activity, take the sheep and do something as part of their salvational process. Shabbos HaGadol. It's Parashas Tzav. It's the laws of Tum and Tara. You could become Tameh through passivity, but the only way to become Tar is through dynamic activity. So we should be Zochem Yirtz Hashem that on this Shabbos HaGadol, this Shabbos Parashas Tzav, this Shabbos when thousands of years ago our ancestors found the courage to stop being spectators and to start being doers. When our ancestors found the courage to finally actualize this dynamic principle of Judaism, which is Tara, spiritual growth, spiritual accomplishment, never comes through passivity. It only comes through activity. They discovered this lesson on Shabbos, on this Shabbos, Shabbos HaGadol. And may we be Zochem Yirtz Hashem to do the same. Wishing everyone a good Erev Shabbos, a beautiful Shabbos Kodesh, and an uplifting, transformational Shabbos HaGadol.